manufacture philosophy, because that is the way that you get the economics out of the plant. Modular for us means the way that we build it. So others will talk about modular in terms of smaller individual reactor units that you can bolt together to a power output. We are one single reactor, but we will build the entire power station in a modular, repeatable, factory-produced way. 90% of the power plant will be produced in a factory, transported to site and assembled. So we have got something like 3,000 individual modules that will come together on site. That is a combination of large steel cages that form the bulk and the structure and will be populated, down to concrete Lego bricks, effectively, that come together and form the plant. Reactor is not just the reactor itself. Reactor for us means the entire power station. Other vendors, again, will sell you the reactor or sell you the reactor island, and the rest needs to be built into a power plant. We supply the entire power plant. The reactor is just 20 to 25% of the overall capital. And also, when we think about what makes this thing, what makes it easy to deploy, what makes it most attractive, what makes it attractive to industry and private investors, well, it's supplying the whole thing in a consistent way under one contract. So how are we going to do it? How are we going to make sure that that all comes together how we think it should? Well, we will have sequences of factories. We will have our module factories, we'll have our civil module factories, heavy vessel factories. We'll have sets of factories in different locations as the deployments require. But we'll have sets of those factories that produce all the modules. We will then take those modules to site. They will have been designed in a way that absolutely expedites the assembly, that makes it as efficient as possible, that makes it as low risk as possible. We'll bring those to site, we'll put them together. We'll put them together inside a site factory. So you can see that the image down on in the bottom middle there is the site factory going up, or a cut through, I should say, of the site factory. We build effectively a warehouse over the top of the site, and that's one of the very first things we do. From that point on, we're building inside, so we don't lose any days for weather. We don't need to worry so much about environmental impacts of the construction. We are protected from the environment, and the environment is protected from us. So that's really one of the key innovations that we've taken. It's used in other industries at the moment, but it's not used in nuclear at the moment. So that we see as a real key factor. It's designed for a compact footprint, so we've made it as compact and as flexible as we possibly can. All that comes together to being a low-cost solution for a significant amount of power in a small footprint that can then be used flexibly for whatever it needs to be used for whatever the demand is, to help satisfy all of the net zero and low carbon requirements. To give you a little bit more insight into the modular philosophy, this is a cut through of the design of the plant. It starts to give you a bit of insight. Each one of these blocks is a module. You can see there that's a set of 4x1s, but our design is set around this consistent 1x1 philosophy. What's the right way of putting it? Like a grid pattern, if you like. So consistent sizes that can then be increased in blocks as and when required, can be dropped onto a mat in 3D and in CAD to build the design. They all come together to form the bulk of the plant. Of course, you're always going to have large steel structures, such as the containment, You're still going to have large elements such as the turbine, and you're still, of course, going to have large concrete containment structures. But as far as we possibly can, we will modularize this plant and make these things in factories again as much as we possibly can, as small as we possibly can, bring them together on site. On goes the skin that is purely aesthetic, but again important, and again you can see the outline of the site factory there that goes over the top. A little bit more on the modular architecture, what we call our standard kit of parts. You can see here again this one-by-one steel frame philosophy that can be scaled accordingly. If you need larger tanks, for example, they can go in larger units. The maximum we will go for is 5x1, because that is what will go on the back of a lorry with no special permits for transport. But under that philosophy, we have created, are still refining, but have created this modular architecture and a full build of the power plant using this kind of philosophy. So everything that we need, pumps, pipes, controls, valves, etc., even stairways, locker units for personnel, electrical gangways for wiring, whatever is required will be done in this modular architecture. This we see as being really key to the success of the power plant. So all that comes together to the overall story, which is we believe that the combination of the relatively small but still large power output under a manufacturing and build philosophy that makes it scalable, that makes it consistent, that de-risks it in terms of cost and time. The fact that it is again, relatively low price point for the power output. The fact that we can increase certainty of build time, of how much it will cost overall to investors, to financiers. The fact that we are using standard and proven technology for the reactor elements. The fact that we are using commercially off-the-shelf products as much as we possibly can. All that comes together to make it an investable product, something that we see enormous interest for around the world, something that we see being a key solution to the wider global state and industry requirements for low carbon energy. And I think that is all I've got to say. I have no idea how I did for time, but hopefully I stuck relatively well to the time. Tunga, I don't know if there's any Q&A at that point or any time for questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. At that point, enjoy the rest of your day.
Rob Royce, esimene kampanii